Hi there, everyone. My name is Samuel Simmons, and this is my EDL 853 case study. Get this child out of my classroom. Let's begin. So, a little brief summary about this case study, which involved a student named Carl, who was a extremely troubled young man. He has been diagnosed with behavior disorder, but for some reason, his behavior has worsened. He attends the Schuyler K-12 Comprehensive School District, and by comprehensive, that means that the school district shares resources throughout all of the 16 rural districts that form the Fulton School District. Of lately, Carl's behavior has really gotten, physically abusive towards his teacher, throwing things and slamming down books. And, he's self-abusive. And again, things are kind of manifesting into something a little bit more significant. So what we know. So what we know again is that Carl's behavior for some reason has really changed through the case study. I believe this is because of some issues that may be going on with home, with his parents recently divorcing, and he's become very abusive towards his teacher, Mrs. Nancy Taylor. Susan Green, who is a new teacher fresh out of college, has Carl on her caseload, so she's responsible for his IEP and making sure his accommodations are up to date and things like that. Mrs. Nancy Taylor wants Carl out of her class immediately. She really seems that she cannot support Carl. She appears to have the best interests, as when through in the case study, found that out with the meeting with the parents. But she really wants him out of her class, because she feels like he's a threat to her as well as other students. The previous teacher, Mrs. Lewis, found this out through the case study, really cut corners on the IEP implementation and did some things to support her students that may not have been in their IEP. So that is definitely part of the problem, and it's what we know. So what do we need to know? So some questions that aroused for me when going through this case study was, how old is Carl? He has a brother and sister in junior high, so I assumed he was in elementary, but I was just curious about what grade. I was also curious about if he's on grade level. I was also curious that has he had any problems in the past before what's going on at home, with the issues going on at home with his parents divorcing. His current IEP, what are those accommodations? Are those accommodations being met? And if they're not being met, then, okay, what can we do to better support Carl? Is there anybody in the building, currently in the building, that Carl, gets along with? Is there anyone that has built and sustained some type of relationship with Carl that can help support him and help him de-escalate before, his behavior really starts to manifest into something more severe? And I was really, something that I know through my time as a teacher and in my current position, I'm all about getting families involved and increasing the influence with families. So what I need to know is just how can I, influence his parents to be more involved. And I'm also curious that with, unfortunately, the what's going on at home, do Carl's brother and sister show some of the similar problems that Carl's having? So to identify the problem, we have to find Carl's trigger, and we haven't found that trigger. The data did not, the case study did not, give any example of what triggers Carl to outburst, to have these type of outbursts, these physical outbursts towards his teacher, Mrs. Taylor. It appears through the case study that his IEP is not being accommodated. The lack of implementation, from Mrs. Taylor just saying she wants him out of his class, it did not detail whether or not his current IEP was being followed. It also does not seem like there's the lack of relationships is pretty significant in this case study. It really appears that with the new teacher, still trying to get to know her way and get to know her students, that Mrs. Taylor would probably have a better idea about Carl and better support him, but it seems like they're lacking in those relationships. And with the new teacher, with Susan Green being the new teacher, they're limited with their experience with dealing with students that are having these same type of problems that Carl is having. It also appears that they possibly don't understand the law for IEP and dealing with students with disabilities, as well as obviously there is a significant problem at home with the lack of parental involvement and the unfortunate incidents that are happening with the divorce of his parents. So my proposed plan of action. So strategies for implementation. Well, first of all, I need to collect data. I need to collect the data on Carl. I need to find out, what is he doing before school, after school, on the bus, off the bus, transitioning in the building, whether it's to lunch, from lunch. So things like that. I really want to kind of see, how does Carl go about his regular routine, and again, trying to find that trigger that is that seems to set Carl off. Secondly, I definitely need to meet with the IEP team. Need to get the parents involved. And if we need to make some amendments to his current IEP, then we need to make sure we get those going. Next, it's all about building those personal relationships and connections with Carl. And obviously that would start from day one, but obviously we need to go back and readjust, some things to again, to build and sustain that relationship with Carl. So again, so we can, really kind of help him through, accommodate him to the best of our ability. Um, Also, we want to look into ways of building the collaboration, not only in the building, but with district personnel and pulling as many different resources as humanly possible, again, to support Carl, support our teachers, and things like that. Also, we want to provide those personalized learning opportunities, and try to get technology integrated to see maybe, just maybe, if, in the case study, it did not tell us whether or not technology was utilized or if differentiated instruction was part of their regular routine, but maybe there's some things we can do to really make sure that Carl's being met at his level and supported at his level. And lastly, I want to be able to support the entire family. So I want to be able to assist Carl and his brother and sister with the emotional problems that they're having and assist them through through the hard times that their family are having right now. So, category three, resolution, promote the success of all students. So, some things that we can do again is the IEP team, we can review the data. What does it tell us? Did we find his trigger? Do we need to amend his IEP? Do we need to increase collaboration and parental involvement? And how can we get those things going? We need to find a way that's going to be convenient for his mother to make sure she's involved because, we found out in the case study that she's extremely busy. She works long hours. And unfortunately, she even thinks that that's probably a reason for why he may be acting the way he's acting. Uh, Next, we need to, again, continue to have that safe and conducive environment, build that safe and conducive environment, for all of our students. Whether it's Carl or any other students, we have to be aware that we have to have an environment that is conducive for learning and safe for all students. We have to find out what is triggering Carl, and hopefully through our observations and collecting that data, we can get that. Find a way to get Carl to self manage, his actions, and again, it comes back to that de-escalating, and getting him to calm down before before his behavior really persists into something more severe. Can we find additional support? Is there any other staff? I know it's, small school district, but is there any paraprofessionals or any, collaborative teachers, anyone else that we can pull in to assist Carl, with in the classroom, out of the classroom and things like that. Thirdly, again, it comes back to that differentiated instruction, some things that we can definitely do to make sure that we are meeting Carl on his level and helping him exceed past his cognitive level, increasing the use of technology and allowing for blended learning opportunities, will all, really help to possibly resolve some of the problems that we're having with Carl. Next, we want to make sure that we have those positive reinforcements, as well as we have to increase the discipline. We have to make sure that we stand true to our discipline procedures that we have in the building, but we also want to make sure that we have some positive reinforcement to really help Carl when he does do some things. We don't only want to focus on the bad things. We want to make sure that we have that positive reinforcement to assist Carl throughout the good and the bad things. In the comprehensive school, we want to make sure we pull in as many different professionals as possible: school nurses, social workers, psychologists, and anyone else that can assist us with our students, especially help us through, making those accommodations for Carl. Probably one of the last things that I can think of is I have to be able to provide the professional development for my staff in dealing with students, making accommodations for the IEP, building and sustaining relationships, and also getting into instructional strategies and best practices in the classroom to make sure that we are really pushing all of our students and meeting our students on the individualized level. So category four is define the problem. So what was I thinking, feeling, valuing? Anything unresolved, anything else that is just open for, questions and debate. So first of all was this personal connection that I had because my parents divorced when I was young, sixth grade, and I went through a tough spell of you know I was not diagnosed with a behavioral disorder, but I did act out. And I blamed it a lot on the fact that my parents were separated and my home was broken. Collaboration, it's easy regardless of class sizes and things like that to give up on the difficult students and not have support for teachers and students. So we got to make sure that they have to make sure that they have things in place to help the teachers. That way we can eliminate the teacher turnover and burnout, which happens when dealing with tough issues like this. Increased peer interaction and support for Carl is something else that I was thinking about when I was going through this case study. Thirdly, again, it comes back to that professional development, whether it's a new teacher like Susan Green, or what I deem to be lack of building and sustaining relationships with Mrs. Nancy Taylor, just some professional development with dealing with students like these and building up the instructional strategies and practices to assist my staff. Fourth, you see right there, how can I increase parental involvement and support the family? That was definitely something I was reflecting on as I was going through this case study, especially in the community that I work in, with the limited parental involvement that we see on a regular basis. Getting those parents involved and keeping them involved would definitely help Carl as well as their other kids. And I was really kind of taken back about the accepting of the parental signature when it came to the IEP. The mom was like, just give it to me, let me sign it. She really had to get back to work. So I don't know if she fully understood what she was agreeing with and to those modifications. So just, that was definitely something that I was thinking about as going through this case study. So category 5. So reflecting on standard 2, that providing that proof and evidence that I have promoting the academic success and personal well-being of every student through enhancing instructional capacity. So to promote the academic success of every student, through data collection, identifying the problem and making those necessary amendments and modifications will definitely promote the academic success of every student. Providing more support in the classroom and in the building will definitely enhance the academic success of Carl and every student. And then making sure that we are personalizing learning through blended learning opportunities, differentiation, and gradual release of responsibility will definitely work towards promoting the academic success of students. Promoting the well-being of every student. Again, this is going to take a collaborative effort. This is going to be those IEP teams and parents and district personnel and pulling everyone in to help us through this, since we're a comprehensive school, making sure that everyone is on board and understands their role. Again, the well-being of every student. When we have students that have accommodations that like Carl need accommodations like Carl has, making sure that the peer support or some type of partner is in place. We now, after dealing with Carl, have the experience. We have built a plan that promotes the well-being of every student, because now we're starting to learn how to deal with students that need accommodations like Carl. And again, it's all built around building and sustaining relationships that will help improve our school climate and our school culture. So to enhance instructional capacity, again, there's that collaborative effort. Again, can't get away from the IEP team and district personnel. It's a huge collaborative effort for everyone to enhance the instructional capacities of our teachers and our staff. It's going to take a full team effort. Increasing classroom support, whether that's paraprofessionals, collaborative teacher, or administrative. I know administration, I know that's kind of hit and miss with, having so many different schools to be at, but being able to, provide more support in the classroom. And then professional development to enhance instructional capacity. That's really done through professional development and providing learning opportunities for teachers and staff so that they can enhance the academic experiences for all students. This is my EDL 853 case study. Get this child out of my classroom. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I learned so much from this case study, and I'm looking forward to learning from the rest of our the courses, the modules in our course. And thank you so much. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care.